Hello, my name is Luigi Pangera. I'm primarily a photographer and sometimes I like to talk about video games. And Fallout 3 was on sale recently, but probably not anymore, for $2.50 US dollar. For about 100 hours of gameplay, hell yes. So I decided to check out this and compare a modded version of Fallout 3 on the PC to a modded version of Fallout 4 on the PlayStation 4. So the first problems I had to solve was that to make it run on Windows 7, I had to update the ini file because Fallout 3 wasn't produced when Windows 7 was out. So it was released before its event, so I had to do that. The other thing that I had to deal with was bloom. It will make some of the textures of the walls and the pillars and the architecture of the setting made them too bright, so I had to figure out how to put that down. So I put it on very hard difficulty. Two reasons actually. One is go hard or go home. Go hard or go home. Go hard or go home. I choose the hardest difficulty, very hard mode in Fallout 3, and to simulate my preferred method of playing Fallout 4, which is survival mode but modded. And there's some frustration when you die, but that's normal. It makes it really more terrifying. And perhaps I should tell you about modded Fallout 4. I only use a few methods available on the PlayStation 4. I use a mod to first of all make it saves, because in an unmodded version of survival mode in Fallout 4, the only way to save your progress is to sleep, which is stupid because there's also a stat. In survival mode, you need to eat food, drink water, and sleep. You can also catch diseases. And now sleeping has two functions. You have to both save and sleep in it. Some say makes it hardcore, but I think it makes it a little bit more frustrating because you're not concentrating on sleeping to allay the effects of fatigue. You're concentrating on because you spend an hour playing and you don't want to screw up your progress. So I can save anytime I want. Also, I've changed the difficulty a little bit. Again, I think it's because Bethesda, taking cues from Obsidian's New Vegas, don't really know how to make a survival mode. It's just enemies get more hit points. Basically, the player character can do more damage, but the enemies can also do more damage. So I've got a mod that fixes that to make it more even. Because I want to concentrate on the survival aspects. I don't want to make it frustrating, because even though I play many games on the highest difficulty, I played Mass Effect, I played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, I played New Vegas on hardcore mode and on very hard mode, so that's twice difficulty, so I'm no slouch when it comes to difficulty modes. However, if a game is just built at being hard, and that's a fun point, like Dark Souls, it's just frustration, it's not fun. I play a very hard mode when it's a choice, and that makes it more fun because I want the more challenge. And I also have this really cool mod that makes the survival mode, the setting of Fallout 4, the Commonwealth, in fog, in a permanent dark fog, which that does add to the setting, but I will talk about that a little bit later. So Fallout 3, very hard mode to simulate survival mode. There is like a needs mod which didn't work. There was a mod that added crops and farms because everybody complained. That's the main complaint of Fallout 3. Where do they eat? It's a mod for that, but it didn't work for me. There's a mute mod which didn't work for me. But the ones that did work, I will put down a list of them in the description below. Imaginator to make it more orange, because Fallout 3 has a really bad problem of a green filter, which I didn't like. Sprint key, which is neat, which is great. Some companion fixes, also added some armor, and also added a mod that replaces the 10mm in Fallout 3 with a 9mm, the M1911 gun that you find in almost every game ever. And that's pretty much it, aside from Project Reality and a few other fixes. Modded Fallout 3, I didn't do too much. Just because most mods need the DLCs, and I did not install the DLCs because I played them a billion times and I have no intention of playing the Fallout 3 DLCs again. So how does modded Fallout 3 compare to modded Fallout 4? Well, in Fallout 4, the setting is... Well, the graphics, of course, Fallout 4, the newest game, is going to be better, but I just want to talk about the tone, the setting of... there's good graphics and there's good graphic design. So, Fallout 3 graphics has aged a little bit, but the design has not. Like I said, I had to get rid of the green filter, but when that green filter's gone, modded Fallout 3 looks really good. A little bit too dark, a little bit too contrast, but that's okay. But the setting, the design, the art design of Fallout 3 of the capital wasteland is that it looks completely destroyed. The moment when you exit out of Vault 101 and you see the wasteland is such a famous moment in video game history, and just see it's absolutely destroyed. Now, in lore, the explanation is that the capital wasteland was bombarded with bombs compared to Fallout 4's Commonwealth. That would make sense because the capital, it is the capital of pre-war America, etc., etc. Boston, although an important city, was not the capital and didn't receive as much destruction. But I think what modded Fallout 3 has over Fallout 4 is that its tone. It looks like it's been completely destroyed. That is an utter wasteland. And Fallout 4 looks about, it's still destroyed, but things are growing back. Because Fallout 4 is more post-apocalypse. Fallout 3 is more post-apocalypse. And in terms of, exploring a bombed out world, Fallout 3 is what I want. Also in Fallout 3, I put on the overgrown mod, which overgrows things with grass, which makes it look, a little bit like it's slowly covering like post-apocalyptic game. But in Fallout 4, in modded Fallout 4, the reason why I put the mod to... The reason why I installed that mod that makes it much more foggy and darker was to give the setting a bit more some uniqueness, and I think that's what Commonwealth, vanilla Fallout 4 did not have. It didn't have any uniqueness. Another thing about the setting that Fallout 3 has over Fallout 4 is that Fallout 3 has a bit more settlements, and many of these don't have quests that you can fill in the quest log. Some of them do have little stories that you can interact with, or unmarked quests. And these are things like Arndale and Arthur, Republic of Dave, stuff like that just makes sense. Like a little place with some lore, their own culture, their own people, some to explore. And modded Fallout 4 does not have that. The fog makes it more scary, but still there's all the settlements are pretty much the same. And the settlement building system, although I find it addictive and enjoyable, especially if you go like a realistic version, with mods such as OC Decorator and USO, there's not many with enough lore, because you're creating your own town, you're creating that. There's not much to explore as it is in modded Fallout 3. I mean, there are some settlements like the Marina and the Slog, and they have their own backstories and their own lore, but really there's not much to explore compared to Fallout 3. One thing that the modded Fallout 4 does better than Fallout 3 in its setting is the city. The city of Boston is its own zone, and you can quite literally walk from one part of the city to the other, and with no loading screens, nothing like that. It's amazing. The technology to do that is incredible. In Fallout 3, however, everything is blocked up by rubble and you've got to use the metro tunnels. And the explanation for that is technology wasn't up to date. Of course, Fallout 4, the newer version, has the technology to do that. The sound design in Fallout 3 is pretty good. I like to turn the music off for a survival, very hardcore run, to get the feeling that you're being trapped in a hostile place. The sound design is really good, but the sound design in Fallout 4 is also equally good, with lots of random sounds of creaking and metal creaking and distant gunshots. So I think they're pretty much on par on that. Fallout 3 modded compared, as I'm going to compare the companions, is, well, some of them are gauged by karma meter, but they mostly act like bullet sponges and, camels to put in to carry items for you that you looted from the wasteland. There's not much to Fallout 3's companions. Fallout 4 companions, however, are interesting, have distinct personalities, distinct likes and dislikes, their own quest lines, and they grow as characters throughout the game. I think Fallout 4 modded does companions a lot better than modded Fallout 3 does. I did had a mod which added a companion in Fallout 3, and basically, that was it, just a bullet sponge and a repository for my junk that I found. Another thing that Fallout 4 modded does better than Fallout 3 modded is the power armor. Now, the power armor in Fallout 4 feels like a vehicle. You hop in it. It feels clunky. It feels awesome. And yeah, it feels like a proper power armor. In Fallout 3, the power armor is just a suit. Yeah. But one thing I noticed with Fallout 3, the power armor is a lot more rarer than it is compared to Fallout 4. And Fallout 4 power armor is a doddle. You find them everywhere depending on your level. Now, the compatibility for mod in Fallout 4 PlayStation 4 is, I would say they're the same. They're equally both bad and good. In the PlayStation 4 version of Fallout 4, you were free to download mods directly by Bethesda.net. However, they turn off your trophies. So if you've got a mod installed and you're playing that, and you try to get a trophy or an achievement, as it's called in Xbox, you will not get it. I don't know why that's the case. That's just why. Also, the fact is that mods for the PlayStation 4 can only be so much megabytes, and they cannot use external assets like custom textures or custom meshes. Fallout 3 modded, however, can use custom assets and custom textures and custom models. And it's just simple of downloading the Nexus Mod Manager and downloading it from the link. However, you got to fix the INI first. And sometimes it does have crashes. If you do not have the DLCs, it crashes as well. So sometimes it's manual installs and does have a habit of crashing, but every Bethesda game has a habit of crashing. So the story, I think, one other thing that Fallout 3 modded has over Fallout 4 is role playing. Now, Fallout 3 has a bunch of, when you're talking with an NPC, it has a bunch of options to choose from. Fallout 3 does not. It has just 4, and usually those 4 options are just 4 different ways of saying yes. And the reason for that is because of the voice protagonist. And the entire reason they have a voice protagonist in Fallout 4 is because they wanted to tell a more emotional story, which I think they did succeed. It is an emotional story, and the characters do emote with their, not only with their mannerisms, but with their voice, their tone, their facial expressions. They are capable of emoting a far great deal compared to Fallout 3. However, the story is a bit predictable, and although it feels epic for the first 2/3 of the story, Fallout 4's story comes crashing down by the end. It seems that they rushed the end. Fallout 3's story is somewhat nonsensical, and again, compared to Fallout 4, just looking for a family member, and us players are getting slightly sick of that plot hook, I would think. But there is a lot more variation on what to say, because Fallout 3 does not have a voice protagonist. The skill system in Fallout 4, it has a perk system. In Fallout 3, there has a skill system, and Fallout 3 does it a little bit better, because it's got certain skills that you don't find in Fallout 4. You've got lockpicking, you've got small guns, you've got big guns, and therefore you can focus it. In Fallout 4, it's really hard to focus skills. You can't create certain builds. Like, you can't be all like a gunslinger with small guns with power armor. You cannot do that. You can't focus things in Fallout 4 modded as you can in Fallout 3 modded. However, saying that the skills system is pretty much the same as a perk system. I mean, the perks in Fallout 4 has the same function as the skills in Fallout 3. They're both up small guns, up lock picking, and improve various assets. And I suppose you can a little bit focus on your skills, but the problem with that is, once again, Fallout 4, it's more a well-rounded character. You can't focus that much. Maybe a little bit, but not that much. Fallout 3, on the other hand, you can focus things a lot better. But in all things, I think the systems are pretty much even. If you want a proper system, probably play New Vegas. In reality, I think Fallout 3 compared to Fallout 4, they're not RPGs in a typical sense. They're both action RPGs. I think because Fallout 3 was the first Fallout people played, they're more nostalgic to it, they're more up to it. But I think Fallout 4 does a lot of things better than Fallout 3, but Fallout 3 does have its charms. And goddammit, they did have that Deathclaw versus Power Armor moment in Fallout 3, except that it's a fat man, a portable nuke versus a superhuman, super mutant behemoth. And it's the same sort of thing. They've got this really cool moment at the beginning of the game, instead at the end of the game, where they can then, there. It's just a very strange game design to have that element. It's still the same problem that the predecessor has over its sequel. So in conclusion, as I compare Fallout 3 modded to Fallout 4 modded, is that Fallout 3 has a better artistic design. It's a little bit too dark after mods, but thankfully gets rid of the green. It's got a lot of non-quest settlements, a lot more to explore, a lot more world building, except for the farms business. Sound design is pretty much the same. The companions are a lot worse in Fallout 3 compared to Fallout 4. The power armor is a lot rarer, but does not feel like you're wearing power armor. And the mod compatibility is pretty much the same, both bad and good aspects to it. Well, hope that's it, pretty much. That is my comparison between Fallout 3 modded on very hard difficulty compared to Fallout 4 modded survival difficulty. Yeah, Fallout 4 does a lot of things better to it, and I find Fallout 4 a little bit more enjoyable than Fallout 3, but Fallout 3 does have a few moments of great design and interesting setting and interesting characters as well. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.